polite, are you?
Professor McIntyre. Since we're talking on the subject of you being jealous about all the things I have,
Yeah.
what you we're going to talk about something having to do with a dean of a Christian college who is an atheist. Is sad that nobody wants to talk about religion.
Well,
See if
you're
you can
close
unscramble that sentence.
as close as usual. You're close, but no cigar. I'm referring to a recent article that I sent you, which obviously you haven't read, and it's the president of Wesleyan University. He's a Jew. His name is Michael S. Roth, and he's the president of Wesleyan University in Boston.
Wait. Let's untangle that. An atheist Jew
Yeah.
is in charge of Wesleyan University. For those
Yeah,
who do not know, Wesley was a famous theologian, right?
Yes,
So,
yes. And John Wesley, he was the progenitor of something called middleism or some moderation.
Wesleyanism.
Yeah, Wesleyanism. Yeah, which was pretty.
It's a pretty hard to figure out name.
Yeah, pretty close to deism. But here's why I want to talk about this. Now, here's an atheist president, and he's teaching a philosophy class, right? And here's what he says in his article. As a teacher, I find remarkable resistance to even bringing up religious ideas and experiences into class discussions. When I ask what a philosopher had in mind in writing about salvation or the immortality of the soul, my normally talkative undergraduates suddenly stare down at their notes. If I ask them a factual theological question about the Protestant Reformation, they are ready with answers. Predestination, faith not works, and so on. But if I go on to ask the students how one knows in one's heart that one is saved, they turn back to their laptops. They look anywhere but at me for fear that I might ask them about the feeling, the love of God, or about having a heart filled with faith. Now that is from an atheist.
So it sounds like this atheist individual wants to start the conversation on, well, the higher things. This is an atheist that he's not like Richard Dawkins or Michael Shermer that thinks you can get
he's not
by.
Like Joe White trying to take cupcakes religion away. Not like Dawkins trying to to make money.
He understands that there is a certain social societal benevolence to religion. Religion is not inherently bad, but his students are not recognizing that fact.
Yeah,
that's what it sounds like. And I mean, it's kind of his fault for letting people like Dawkins and Michael Shermer and other intellectuals of the anti-religious bent, not non-religious, but anti-religious bent.
Oh, I disagree with you entirely there. It's not his fault. It's not Michael Roth's problem, a Jewish atheist who's trying to get the religious discussion going. He's trying to get his students to talk about religious experiences. No, as he goes on in the article, and as I agree with his position, the blame belongs to the cultural Marxist professors and high school teachers that these students, they have never heard of religious experience. They don't know anybody who is religious. They don't care about religion. They only care about material wealth. Wesleyan has a large business school.
What I'm getting at is that it's not just the Marxists, it's not just the anti-atheists, it's also the people like this particular blend of atheism, the moderate Christians, the people who are just trying to be nice.
Right.
They allowed them to do this kind of takeover.
Well, yeah, but he's really interested in finding out psychologically, why they can't even look him in the face when he asks a serious question about salvation, immortality of the soul, life after death, any of the really important issues that any religious person would want to do.
Well, I think it has sort of two-pronged problem. On one hand, they don't have very much familiarity. They don't have many friends, and they don't just know people who talk about that sort of stuff. So they're not very familiar. And the second is that by talking these sort of talks, you have two kinds of. I'm just going to put them on the right and on the left. You have folks who are more interested in the facts. They're more interested in, what what you can observe, the empirical, and then you have the other. I mean, it's not strictly right or left, but follow me. You have more emotional based. They're more
Right.
based on how you feel.
Right.
And the religious experiences that this professor is trying to talk about is sort of a blend of both of them. And neither side is very comfortable going to the opposite sides. But
Right.
that's what I think that religion and religious studies and theology does really, really well, is it forces you to cross paths with each other and just, you see the two of them mixed together. Because somebody that's completely empirical in their theology is usually missing the soul. And people that are very, that have no basis for their theology, they don't have any, be it a text or a hermeneutics or some sort of epistemology or something to root themselves in, they ultimately just spew nonsense and buzzwords. It's not really stimulate. It doesn't really get you anywhere.
Right. Well, John Wesley, the founder of what is called Methodism. That's what that's an application of William James's American pragmatism. Methodism is merely let's do what is religiously required in order to be practical. And this Jewish atheist president of Wesleyan University, he ends his article by saying something that actually supports what you just said. He said, "What my students ultimately believe or do not believe is none of my business. But they, like all other college students, need to understand that what it's like to be absorbed in a robust tradition, including religious ones. They and I should refuse to hide behind narrow versions of critical thinking that keep them from engaging with people whose lives are energized by compassion and forgiveness." This is from an atheist. "Becoming more aware of the multiplicity of traditions and practices will make all of us more curious about and more empathetic towards other person's beliefs, and the more humble with respect to our own." And he ends the article that way, which really is an agreement with what you're saying.
Yeah, to a certain degree. There's one more point I'll add before we end this podcast, is that because we've really, ever since Thomas Aquinas, Plato has been kind of removed from philosophy to a certain degree. And Plato, he really did focus more on the higher things, the sort of beyond this world, the ideals of virtue. Now we've kind of only focused on the Aristotelian, what is here, the more materialistic, practical means.
No, you're right about
which is not inherently bad, but it is very tragic that we sacrifice one for the other. And people, you can see demagogues take this kind of high speech and this high rhetoric and just inflame a mob into doing X, Y, and Z. You can see it all the time. But people don't know how to react beyond that. People don't know how to react, or within that, I should say, within the idea of there being higher ideals than just what is material.
Well, with better parenting and better teaching, they would be able to implement what Michael Roth is advocating, and that is that one of the most practical reasons to study religions and to think about religious questions, even if you're an atheist like he is because it enriches your understanding of other people who do believe in these traditions and do believe in religious ideas. That's all the man's trying to say. But unfortunately, our parenting and our education system sucks. So, except for yours was great. Mine was.
You really like mine more than yours?
Yeah.
I didn't learn Latin, so you got that going for you.
No, I'll gladly trade you Latin for your mother's cooking. Anyway. Anyway, Alex, we're going to stop it here. We're going to come right back after the break, and stay tuned for more of the Alex and Mark Show. Cheers, Alex.
Absolutely.